Hi, good evening all.
Hi, Shashi. Good evening.
Good evening, sir. Good evening. How are you?
I am good. I am good. I am good.
Great. Apurva, hi.
Hi. Good evening.
Good.
Good evening.
Yogesh,
Good evening.
good evening.
Hello,
Hi, Nitin sir.
Nitin Bhagal from Osmanabad.
Usmanabad.
Oh.
Yeah. Great. Great to see you, sir.
Yeah, thank you.
मागच्या सेशनला पण होते साहेब.
हा? हो होते ना.
मागच्या सेशनला पण होते साहेब. मागच्या सेशनला पण
हो,
साहेब
हो.
होते नितीन साहेब.
Yes. Shashi, good evening.
Good evening. Good evening. How are you?
Hope all is well.
All well.
Yes, all is well.
Yeah.
Where is
Thakur,
no worry.
Yes.
yeah, by let's say 5:30, 3:34, like we will start.
Okay. We'll start like this. Okay. Fine.
Because like by that time, let's say people will participate, and we will have like say more number of participants. So then like say, it will be like beneficial to most of them.
Okay. Okay. Fine. Fine.
Good evening, sir.
Hi. Good evening.
Hello,
I
sir. Good
think,
evening.
I think everyone is able to access YouTube videos which I have shared yesterday.
Yeah. I have accessed.
Why?
Is the signal okay?
Yeah.
हो sir.
Your voice and video is absolutely fine.
Perfect.
Yeah.
Okay. Okay.
शशी तुझा मायक्रोफोन म्यूट कर.
हा एक मिनिट.
Hi, Apurva.
$89.
89.
अपूर्व.
Yeah.
89 वाले तुम्हाला हाक मारतायत.
नाही सगळ्यांना हात मारतो.
अजून एक 89 आले, मंदार राजूरकर. आज काय बार्शी आणि उस्मानाबाद गँग दिसते
अरे
बहुतेक.
वाह.
He's no captain.
ओके.
Hi, Mandar.
मंदार
Hello.
कनेक्ट होते बहुतेक. ऑडिओ त्याचा कनेक्ट होतोय. जगदीश माळी सर.
Good evening all.
गुड इव्हनिंग.
Good evening.
Good evening Anand sir.
Hi, Jagdish. Good evening.
Very good evening sir.
Sanjay Belulkar, the second speaker, is also joining. He's
Wow.
joining from USA.
Oh, wonderful.
Yeah. Hi, Sanjay. Sanjay
Australia.
Belulkar, sir. No. He's in USA now. He
Okay.
shifted to USA few months back for his son's education.
Arnav will also join the meeting very soon.
Pardon?
आवाज
Arnab.
Arnav will also join the meeting.
आवाज ऐकू येत नाही तुझा, अपूर्व.
ठीक आहे, मी व्हॉट्सअप करतो तुला. आवाज येत नाही तुझा.
He is saying Arnab will join.
Oh,
He knows Arnab.
Arnab Goswami or Arnab Deshmukh?
Arnav Deshmukh.
Achha, I thought Arnab Goswami.
No.
Apurva has taken one nice session for us.
Oh, okay, great. On financial management? Okay.
Sir, Thakur sir, good evening, sir.
Hi, good evening, Mandar.
बार्शी गँग.
मजेत.
गुड इव्हनिंग.
नमस्कार.
काय म्हणताय? रिटायर्ड लुक काय म्हणतोय?
अरे मस्त.
Yogesh, how are you?
बापरे.
Yogesh.
मोठे बागल साहेब नेते वगैरे सगळे जॉईन झाले बाबा आज.
Oh,
Ajay, good evening. Welcome.
अरे कैसे हो आनंद? How are you?
Yes, first class, first class. Nice seeing
Nice to
you.
see you here, yaar.
Great,
Good,
great.
yaar. All the best for your talk, yaar.
Thank you.
I'm having some doubt.
Hi, Deepak, कैसे हो? How are you?
Yeah.
81 batches purposefully joined.
दीपक
This, they, only one, I can see only Ajay. There is nobody else.
Deepak is there.
दीपक चौधरी.
Deepak
Where is
there,
Deepak?
oh, Deepak
He-
sir
he's
is there.
there.
Yes. Yeah, yeah.
Oh, hi, DN. Where are you? Oh, why?
सर
So
सगळं
we should
81 बॅचला
feel
बॉक्स
for-
Ah,
बोलवलं
yeah, Deepak, I can see you.
Anand
Hi,
sir,
DN.
we should feel for Deepak because Deepak is alone. Family is in Goa.
His factory has started, so he has to work. He is working from workplace. Shashi, we are 20 of us now.
Yes.
Yeah. Yes, we are 22.
Yeah, 20, 22, okay. So another 1 minute?
Yeah.
Yes.
Yeah, okay.
Okay. Meantime, like say, I'll introduce. Good evening, everyone.
Good evening.
Today we have senior most Ajinkyan, not very senior, but then for me, like say, he's senior most. He's 81 pass out, and I'm 92 pass out. So like say, he's very senior to me that way. So we have Brigadier Anand Thakur sir, who is going to deliver the session on disasters and national security. He has retired recently from armed forces, and he does carry, like say, more than 30 plus years of experience into engineering core of army. So Anand sir, like say, you can take the charge and like say introduce yourself
Yeah.
in detail, and then you can carry on, sir. Thank you.
Okay. Thank you, Shashi. And good evening, all of you.
Good evening.
At the outset, let me thank Shashikant, Dhanesh Shetty, and the other organizers for your mammoth efforts in creating this platform that enables all of us to in-house learn from the talent that Ajinkans have. Such meetings with purpose are the mutually beneficial things that we are doing in this constructive use of time during the lockout. I am Brigadier Anand Thakur. I've, like Shashikant has mentioned, I've passed out in 81 from the school, thereafter joined the NDA, and now I have retired in the month of February from the Indian Army after about 35 years of service. Gentlemen, it's always a pleasure to talk to our school community, but doing so in this formal manner, and that too through the remote conferencing app, gives some anxious moments to, especially to a technologically challenged person or a pensioner like me. So I'll request you to please bear with me for any technology related goof ups that may come up during my talk. Actually, seeing this word disaster in my topic may have indicated to you that this is a talk that is a repeat of what Shashikant Wagmode of 1994 batch spoke about a few days ago. But in actuality, I'm going to take off from where he had left. So it's not the same, it is a continuation of the same. A word about Shashikant's talk. True to his teachings at the faculty where he had done his CBR and training, the officer that day had very lucidly explained to us everything about what the disaster management means. Especially by sprinkling his talk with the first-hand experience of the armed forces involvement in the Uttarakhand and the Kerala disasters, he has made my today's job very easy. So a big thank you to you, Shashi, for the same. Coming to my topic of the day today, it reads something like this. I'll be using few slides. Yeah. So can you see the slide?
Yes.
Okay.
Yes,
okay.
sir.
Yes, yes.
Okay. Okay. So it is disasters and national security. Is there a correlation? Now, let us first recapitulate what Shashikant had told us the other day, what disaster means and what are the types of disasters and what is the disaster continuum. If you see this diagram here on the screen, you will see that a disaster continuum implies two distinct phases of a disaster, which is the pre-disaster phase and the post-disaster phase. The upper portion is the pre-disaster phase, consisting of the prevention, mitigation, preparations, basically things which are containing capacity building. And the lower one, the reddish one, are the post-disaster things, which is response, assessment of the immediate relief, reconstruction, rehabilitation. Now, having seen that there are two distinct phases of pre-disasters, that day Shashi had shown that there is a tiered approach that the NDMA, the National Disaster Management Authority of India, has laid down for approaching any disaster. And this tiered approach is something like this. We have something at the national level, something at the state level, something at the district level. I'm not actually going to talk about what the contents of these are, but I would like you to look at this slide very carefully. You will notice that armed forces are not present anywhere in this tiered institutional mechanism. Now, it sounds really weird. It raises a question as to why the armed forces are not included. But rightly, the NDMA has a ready answer. It says that disaster management is not the armed forces' primary job. So we can't plan on their availability or involvement or the role that they play in utilizing the armed forces' resources. So therefore, you will not see the armed forces in it. But on the contrary, the reality is different. You all will agree with me that there is not one disaster in the country in which the armed forces have not got called in. In fact, I'll go a step further and say that whenever an accident escalates or manifests itself to a disaster level, that is the moment when the armed forces are called up, because the civil administration and the other Ministry of Home Affairs resources have not been able to do the job that they were supposed to be doing. Yet, gentlemen, the NDMA, for them, the armed forces remain only the executive arm. And that is a big shortcoming of the planning that we have. Nothing wrong in it. In 2005, when the NDMA was raised, probably that time, this is how it was envisaged and this is how it was rightly done. But today, after 15 years, a lot has changed. There is a lot to disaster and national security correlation, which as I proceed into my talk, I will highlight to you all also. At the moment, this arrangement sends a slightly different message to the nation that in our policy formulation, disasters and national security have no correlation, which now needs to change. Let us now see the two types of disasters that Shashikant the other day had mentioned. There are, I have mentioned on to the right in the star, innocent disasters, meaning thereby that on these two natural disasters or the man-made ones, the examples that I have quoted, probably you will not have any one single person or a single organization to blame as to how this disaster has taken place. It just happened. Some earthquakes, some floods, and some droughts. They have happened. Some man-made disasters, even the Bhopal gas tragedy and the nuclear power plant incidents of Fukushima and Chernobyl, they just happened in spite of all the safety precautions being in place. So there is no ulterior motive, there is no shortcut of any kind in this kind of a disaster. But now the things are different. There is something called deliberate action, engineered disaster. And this is falling in the domain of anti-national activities. It is, in our parlance, we call it environmental warfare. Now hold, this sounds scary, but that's the reality. Engineered disasters do happen. Engineered disasters can take place. Countries plan to engineer disasters, or countries plan to use an existing disaster, the chaotic conditions of an existing disaster, to pursue their nefarious activities. Till now, we'll see what the engineered disasters are like. Let's read this definition of the environmental warfare. It is defined as the intentional modification of nature. It's modification of nature, NMOD that they call, to cause damage to an intended target, country or a population or a region as part of strategic or tactical warfare. There are technologies affecting ecological changes in which you can create floods at will. You are aware that China has plans and sometimes it does things to alter the course of rivers. We've sometimes heard earlier about the Brahmaputra river alteration that China has been planning, building dams along Brahmaputra. Deliberate causing of droughts. Rainfall seeding is a very normal thing. Even in Maharashtra, it is happening. It is not related to disaster that it is happening in Maharashtra. It is for good purpose. But then you can always create rainfall at will where you like to and use it for nefarious activities. I'll give you an example. In the 2008 Olympics in Beijing, there was an opening ceremony, and for that opening ceremony, it was predicted by the Weather Department of China that a certain time of the opening ceremony and the rainfall time was clashing. What China did was to seed those rain clouds prior to those rain clouds reaching the atmosphere above the stadium, and thereby preventing the rains spoiling the show of the opening ceremony. So that's a good purpose utilization of the silver iodide gun, which rainfall seeding can be done. But you can always use it for something else as well. In the US-Vietnam War, United States is known for spreading certain chemicals to deforest Vietnam, so that the advantage that the Vietnamese used to get out of the guerrilla warfare tactics was reduced or was not so adverse for the United States. There are works going on for altering the ocean currents, and you will see how you will realize how ocean current alterations can affect nations, dumping of radioactive waste. And there are so many other things as I have shown on this slide. So environmental warfare is a reality. Now, in this environmental warfare, there are things like the CBRN warfare, the nuclear bomb, the chemical weapons, the biological agents, the radiological instruments, and such like things. All these are possible to be used for building your nefarious activities. And there are nations which are doing it. Closer home, we have the Pakistan's river linking project. You must have read about the Indus Water Treaty. In the Indus Water Treaty, the water of the northern 2 rivers is going to Pakistan, and the southern 3 rivers, the water is not being sent to Pakistan. It is being utilized by India. Pakistan has linked the northern 2 rivers with its southern 3 rivers by a series of canals which are running parallel to its border. So the water from the northern rivers is transferred to the southern rivers, and the riverbeds are charged with this water. And in the bargain, they have created a network of very formidable defense-oriented canals, which adds to their defense potential, which also gives them the advantage of launching an attack should they think of doing. So this kind of plan to modify the nature, modify the the environment is something which is scary for all of us, something which we need to take stock of. So having seen these 2 eventualities, the natural and the man-made ones, I have also brought in the fact that the engineered disasters primarily fall in the CBRN domain, the chemical, biological, radiological, and nuclear domain. The present COVID-19 virus is considered to be part of this biological warfare. For certain unspecified, for certain unknown or invisible battlefields, China is trying to use this kind of weapon to pursue its international aims. There are known examples of use of CBRN weapons earlier also. I have given certain examples. The others you can Google and see for yourself as to what kind of catastrophic effect that these weapons will have. The target country sometimes does not even come to know that they are under attack. The target nation, by the time it realizes that something like this has happened, they are already been overcome by the aggressor country. So you see, a definite correlation therefore exists between a disaster and national security, which is what my topic of the day was, that national security cannot today stay away from the planning process for which planning process of disasters. I will now give you certain examples of which are close home for our nation. You must have read about the Kashmir floods of 2015. Probably for the first time in any disaster management activity in India, the soldiers were required to carry their personal weapons. They were required to set aside a force to see that their flood relief activity is not targeted by the terrorists while providing aid to civil authorities. Now, this is a very, very scary thing. Anybody for that matter who is providing aid, anybody who for that matter who is providing relief to the affected party should not be under any kind of threat to his life or threat to the process of relief provision. But in 2015, that was not there. You Google the photographs of that time and you will see soldiers having their weapons with them. Why should those weapons be there if they have never been there earlier? Already a term in the media is got coined called the COVID terrorism. I made a mention about it, the probability of China using it. Just yesterday, I read that the Indian Army has issued instructions to its forces that the handling of the dead bodies of the terrorists that are being killed in action as they are happening even today, they have to be presumed that they are COVID infected, and therefore such dead bodies have to be handled with utmost care. Minimum people to handle, wearing of protective equipment and such like this. All these actions which are related to the use of an activity, use of CBRN kind of a weapon for creating disasters or using the disaster situation for nefarious activities, is a drain on the resource, a drain on the people who are looking at the national security. There are deliberate anti-national actions for faster spread of this COVID in India. You are aware of the attacks on the medical staff. You are aware about the ruckus in the quarantine facilities that some groups of people are creating. There are organized assemblies for nefarious purposes, like the congregations, the migrants, such like things. And now, if you join the pattern of the red hot hubs of COVID affected regions in the country, you will realize probably there are deliberate infiltration of infected persons in industrial hubs. Bombay, Surat, Indore, Ahmedabad, Delhi. All these places are big industrial hubs for the nation. Pune. All these regions have become red hot. There could be a deliberate attempt to make them red hot. So therefore, gentlemen, there is a need to take stock and see that the national security planning becomes part of planning for the disasters. I am on to my last viewfoil. So what needs to be done? What should be done by us? Do you envisage a bigger role for the armed forces? Yes, the role for the armed forces is definitely big for the management of any disaster, and they willingly are, they're always a willing participants. But now with this national security being, angle of national security coming in disaster management, the armed forces have a very big role. In the continuum of the disasters that I showed, the pre-activities, the green one on top and the red one at the bottom, the post-disaster activities, there's a requirement that the armed forces involvement in the pre-disaster management activities like formulation of SOPs, formulation of strategies, formulation of plans. There's a requirement of increasing the role for the armed forces. There's a requirement to overcome this mindset of safety. Safety should now get replaced by security. Safety in a disaster management activity. All our SOPs, policies, strategies today are evolved around this term called safety. So everywhere we have to have safe things. This building has to be earthquake safe. This building has to be like this. This region has should not have should have water training structures in such particular manner. Alongside safety, there's a requirement of incorporating the word security. Everything has to now be looked at from the point of view of security. The NDMA or the Ministry of Home Affairs should not see itself as the all-pervasive organization to be responsible for disaster management by itself all alone. It has to take the Ministry of Defense and through the Ministry of Defense, the armed forces on its board, right at the inception stage. In 2005, when the NDMA was raised, the foundation of NDMA's strategies and principles has been laid by a governing body which was armed forces heavy. But slowly, as the time passed, as the NDMA settled in its job, it's done a considerably good job. There was a deliberate attempt to weed out the armed forces personnel, and today now there is just one armed forces personnel on the entire NDMA body. This somewhere has to change because of the kind of use of disaster for pursuing of nefarious activities by our adversary or by organizations which are sponsored by that country for pursuing anti-activities. And finally, we have the role, the mindset of we versus they. There has to be a consolidated kind of effort, a very coordinated and a synergized effort from all angles. And that is the end of my talk today. Thank you, gentlemen. If there are any questions, I can take them on, or as Shashikant will say.
We have let's say 8 minutes, so we can take the question.
Yeah, please.
Hello.
Yes, sir.
Hello. Yes.
Hi. So this is Yogesh from batch of 2000. So we have a question.
Yeah,
I mean, we are actually we are not part of any defense institute. We are actually a group of friends. We are part of. You would say we are like the civilian. So we are in respective field of engineering or IT or whatever field apart from national defense. Now, my query is, how can we as an individual can contribute in the process of where the national security is involved?
The role of an individual in national security building or the role of a civilian organization in national security building, probably we'll have to go through the National Security Council. And we may have to share our views or your capabilities with the National Security Council. There is this organization, if you Google, they have a web page, and on the Prime Minister's own website, we have platforms on which you can share your capabilities. Now, in the National Security Council also, there are the armed forces experts and experts from all other organizations as well, who will take cognitive ability, and maybe they will synergize and bring you into an organized kind of force wherein you will be able to contribute to the national security. Otherwise, the second option is defense industry. There is a very good publication by the armed forces where the armed forces publishes problem statements. It's a very big compendium consisting of 150 problem statements. And the latest version is available on the Google January 2020 edition. Now, out of those problem statements, and there are small things, but those small things make very big impact for the armed forces. Those are the problems that the armed forces are facing today, which if the industry or people in the industry, people like you who have got some capability, can take on and work on one or two problem statements and solve it, probably, I think it will be a great contribution to the national security or to the armed forces.
Thank you, sir. So can you please also share the link where that?
Yeah, definitely. I'll share it on our WhatsApp thing. In fact, I'll share that PDF file of the latest problem statement compendium. I'll share that with you.
Thanks a lot, sir.
Yeah.
Any more questions?
Uh,
I think.
Sir, I want to ask.
Yeah. Go ahead, sir.
Yeah, I want to ask as to why, since you are already prepared, why it should be difficult for government to take on board or take into consideration all the views that you have just shared. We also have this is a proactive government, which is a nationalistic government. So I think it should have, or at least now that it is being pointed out, it should be quickly implemented. What is your hope on this?
Sir, it is like this. Somewhere disaster is, till such time it is under the Ministry of Home Affairs, it is being looked at from purely point of view of an innocent kind of that takes place. It is a very new thought that the disasters potential of affecting our national security adversely. This kind of a thought, when it increases in murmur and the sound becomes louder, probably the government should take its cognizance. I have shared my little write-up with the Prime Minister's platform. And maybe there are some more people who are writing about it. But I have just raised an issue which today needs to be incorporated in updating our philosophy. Nobody is saying that it will not be done, but it is not being done today in the manner in which it should be done, is what I am trying to highlight to the audience here.
Okay, sir. Thank you.
Okay.
Thank you.
Okay.
Sir, this is Uday. I have one question.
Yeah, Uday.
Sir, if, as you mentioned, if NDRM or disaster management is considered taking the army into consideration, but if you see, if there was a nefarious activity, or if you see this was a biological planned attack like COVID-19, and we have already considered army's capacity to be used in this disaster management, isn't this also a vulnerable time that our borders could be attacked, or such activities can be planned by our neighbors which are already not friendly with us?
Uday, probably analysis will come a few months down the line, but you and me are able to see the writing on the wall. This thing is already happening. What is happening on the border, the terrorist activities have not reduced in numbers. What is happening internally, you are seeing the chaos and the way in which people are trying to disrupt the well-planned lockdown that the nation is wanting to go through. Therefore, I say that we need to have a good plan in place wherein we already consider a probability of such things happening. That's all that I am trying to bring in. Had we had a plan that there would be a Tablighi Jamaat kind of an activity or a migrant kind of an issue in our disaster management planning, probably we would have addressed that before it became manifested into a large size. And that is the kind of updation or modification to our plans that I'm trying to suggest. Right? Thank you.
We have left out with few seconds, okay, for this particular session. Okay, so I would request all of you to, let's say, rejoin once we get disconnected, and we can start the second session. And thanks a lot, Anand sir, for your wonderful session. And if suppose somebody has any more questions, like they can ask later on offline. They can.
Yeah. Thank you, gentlemen. Thanks for your patient hearing. Thanks a lot.
Thanks all.
Thank you so much. Thank you.